So if you were to turn on any news program in America, I can almost guarantee you're going to hear about the debates on gun control. And maybe based on your political affiliation, you may think, well, maybe I should vote this way, or I should vote that way. Well, stop. Don't do that. I'm going to tell you this is a bipartisan issue that deserves a bipartisan response. And in terms of response, I think there are three things that we can do to help keep America safe from mass shootings. The first would be universal background checks as it pertains to mental health screenings. And finally, a ban on high-capacity magazines. Now, I think these are three things that we can do that are really common sense to keep America safe. So let's start with the easy one, background checks at gun shows. So if you want to buy any licensed firearm from, say, a licensed dealer like Gander Mountain, you would have to undergo a background check. And this is called the National Instant Check System, or the NICS. And the NICS, according to CSVG.org, has been able to stop over 1.8 million criminals from being able to get guns. And that's a really good thing when you think about it. Unfortunately, only 60% of guns are obtained through licensed dealers. This means that roughly 2 out of 5 guns that are sold without a background check. And this is what brings me to my problem, gun shows. Now, there are thousands of gun shows that happen in America every year, and gun shows are exempt from the NICS, meaning the background check. Now, if you're a licensed dealer at a gun show, you have to give one, but otherwise a private seller doesn't have to. So what does this mean? Well, anyone can go to a gun show and buy a firearm as long as they have the money. This includes convicted criminals, drug abusers, underage kids. Speaking of underage kids, here's one now. Quote, if we can save up $200 real quick, we can go to the next gun show and find a private dealer and buy ourselves some badass AB-10 machine pistols. That was 17-year-old Eric Harris, who turned out to be the Columbine shooter, one of two. Now, that's ridiculous. I don't think that there's a reason why there can't be background checks at gun shows. And I'm not the only one who thinks this. According to the Washington Post, 91% of Americans agree that we should have universal background checks. I think it's just common sense, and apparently so does America. So it brings me to my next point, mental health screenings. Now, the mental health screenings are important because they can help deter people who are mentally ill or suffer from a mental illness from being able to get a firearm. The NRA, the National Rifle Association, in numerous press conferences has promoted the issue of mental health awareness, and I think they have a really good point here. So take Jared Loughner, for example. Jared Loughner was the gunman behind the Tucson, Arizona shooting. He was diagnosed with paranoid schizophrenia. And let me tell you a little bit about Jared Loughner. He was a college student just like you and I, except he wasn't. You see, according to resources from CNN, his paranoid schizophrenia caused him to have strange behavior that really scared some of his students, and later ended up causing him to drop out. He refused to reapply for a mandatory mental health screening that he would have to take in order to get back into college, so he just stayed a dropout. So he thought, well, maybe I'll enlist and apply for the Army. Well, no, he failed the drug test while trying to get into the Army, meaning that he was on drugs. And when he went to go and buy ammunition from a Walmart, they refused to sell it to him based on his his strange behavior and his poor style of dress. Now, despite all these warning signs, he was still able to buy a Glock pistol at a local sporting goods store, which he would then use to shoot 19 people, 6 of whom would die. Now, I don't think that's right. I don't think that people who are mentally unstable should be able to get guns. And so I think that a mental health screening as a part of a background check would be a really good idea because it could help filter out firearms from people like Jared Loughner being able to shoot and harm our citizens. Now we get to probably the most controversial thing, the ban on high-capacity magazines. Now, a high-capacity magazine is basically a magazine that you can get that can hold more than the factory magazine, meaning hold more bullets than what you get at the store. Now, I'm going to give you a list of events and see if you can find the common thread that binds them all together, besides them being horrific tragedies that have happened in my lifetime. Here we have the 1993 Long Island Railroad Massacre, killing 6 and wounding 17. 1999 Columbine High School shooting, which killed 13, wounded 23. 2007 Virginia Tech, killed 32, wounded 17. In 2009, Fort Hood killed 13, wounded 34. Interesting enough, 400 rounds of ammunition were used, courtesy of high-capacity magazines in this particular instance. 2012, the Dark Knight Rises shooting in Aurora, Colorado, killed 12 and wounded 58 people. And in 2011, like we just said, Tucson, Arizona shooting, killed 6, wounded 13. So courtesy of the Huffington Post, of course. And finally, we have Sandy Hook Elementary, where, as you know, Adam Lanza was able to walk in and kill 27 people that day, 20 of whom were these first graders. So were you able to figure out what the common thing was? Well, the answer is high-capacity magazines. All of these instances and all these tragedies used high-capacity magazines. And the only reason that these things are here is so that way a shooter is able to get more ammunition off before having to reload, being able to be stopped by the police. Now, Adam Lanza was able to get, in the Sandy Hook Elementary shooting, over 154 rounds in less than 5 minutes. Now, I think that is way, way too much power for one citizen to have. And of course, there are people who go, Matt, you're crazy. What are you talking about? For example, background checks and mental health screenings make it harder for law-abiding citizens to defend themselves. Well, I don't think that's the case. I mean, if you don't have a criminal history and you aren't on drugs and you don't have a mental illness like Jared Lawfer or parents schizophrenia, you should go out and get a gun. And quite frankly, I encourage everyone to exercise their Second Amendment right to get a gun. I mean, they're there for us to use them, not just for us to look at. So I'm not against guns. I'm against crazy people getting guns. Also, a ban on high-capacity magazines, well, that makes it harder for citizens to protect themselves. For example, a home invasion, someone breaking into your house. Well, to that I say, okay, the standard clip holds about 9 or 10 bullets. Now, if someone's breaking in and you can't shoot him within 9 and 10 shots, I don't think you need high-capacity magazines. I think maybe what you need is just some good old-fashioned target practice. So, what should you take away from this last 5 minutes? Well, hopefully I was able to convince you that supporting legislation like background checks, mental health screenings, and a ban on high-capacity magazines is just common-sense legislation. After all, this doesn't just affect me and you. It affects our future and it affects our children. So what should you do? Well, you should get involved. Check the facts. Don't just take my word for it, like the Warren Burton would say from reading Rainbow. And once you do, develop your own opinion. And then contact your congressman or congresswoman, your state or U.S. senator, and tell them, hey, this is what I think I should do and you should do to keep America safe.